Hello Gold viewers, my name is Candice van Wyk. I am a speaker, property investor and soon to be developer. I'm also an entrepreneur, a business and property coach, and over and above this, I'm an advocate for SME development. Now I'm very passionate about empowering entrepreneurs in and into business, and especially our women entrepreneurs. Okay, so I'm from Boksburg. I was born in Boksburg and stayed in a township called Reiger Park. Many of you may be familiar with it. For those of you who don't know, it's in Ekurhuleni in Gauteng, and I'm the first child in our family, and about 7 years later I was joined by my little brother. And after staying in Reiger Park, we moved to a township called Gelukstad, and we stayed there for most of my teenage years, and then eventually relocated back to Boksburg, and even up to today I'm still in Boksburg. I think some of the major challenges that you see growing up, in the small townships, you're obviously surrounded by poverty. You don't have a lot of role models that you are able to look up to. So I think it's important, to find ways to inspire yourself even as a young child. And I can remember inspiring myself by doing vision boards, when I was still in primary school. At the time I didn't know, I was busy with the vision board. But I always imagined myself, I started playing with business cards when I was about 7 years old. And I always imagined myself being the successful entrepreneur and of course moving my goals forward. So I think it's so important, to find ways to motivate ourselves, to find role models that you are able to look up to, because sometimes it's very difficult to find those role models within the community. So I think generally I find that still a challenge up to today, is that we still see a lot of poverty in our communities. We see a lot of unemployment. We see a lot of people with very little vision, and also I don't think we have enough role models in our communities today. My mom played a very strategic role in my entrepreneurial journey. In fact, the first business that I started, what we'd done was we'd converted my mom's garage into a mini bridal boutique, and that was where I consulted with brides and clients on a part-time basis for about 3.5 years. So my mom really supported me at the time because I was still in full-time employment. And of course, there were certain times when she used to support me with some of the appointments that I had with my clients. And after that, when I moved into business on a full-time capacity, and I moved into beautiful premises in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg, my mom was still there with me. So she didn't only support me from a financial perspective, but she also supported me emotionally. She supported me through her prayers, and she was physically with me in my premises at times to help me deal with the clients that we were servicing at the time. So my mom really played a strategic role in my entrepreneurial journey. She started her entrepreneurial journey before me, so by the time I had started, there were some lessons that she could pass on to me, and of course I could take some of those lessons and I could then apply it to my business journey and move that forward. I think the millennials in today's time have access to coaches, to mentors that they are able to learn from. Now, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, yes, I did have my mom to support me, through some of my journey, but there were a lot of lessons that I had to learn along the way. I was looking for individuals, I was looking for platforms that I could tap into, so that I could acquire some business skills, some business acumen, so that I could continue moving my business, my property and my financial goals forward. And I think our millennials today really have a lot of successful entrepreneurs, successful investors, whatever your focus area is, that have made themselves available online, whether it be through online material, whether it be through books, whether it be through workshops, seminars. There are so many different platforms that our millennials are able to tap into, so that they can learn from people who have made the mistakes, who have learned the lessons, who have achieved a level of success, and we are now able to pass on some of our lessons and our successes on to them. So I think it's so important to find people that you're able to relate to, people that you can tap into, that are more successful than you and who are also doing what you want to do successfully. And sometimes we don't even have to look far. We can look into our network, and we can also find some of these people online. So I think online has really made it so accessible for our millennials to be able to tap into good information and opportunities that can help them move their goals forward. Now, I want to start by saying that I believe in the power of a dream. And if there are some of you out there who have given up on your dreams, or who believe that your dreams are too big or they are impossible, or some of you maybe you've stopped dreaming, I want to encourage you to start dreaming again, because your dreams are necessary and your dreams are needed. You know, God has given you a dream, He's given you a plan, and He's got an assignment and a calling for your life that only you can fulfill. The world needs your dream. So it's important for us to continue pursuing our dreams and to actively work towards our dreams actually coming to pass. And I just want to share a short story with you, a short testimony with you. Now, when I heard about a dream wall in early 2011, what had happened was I was sitting in church, the pastor was preaching about the importance of having a dream wall, and he encouraged us to start finding words and pictures that represent our main dreams and to put it on there. And at the time, I had already started my business, Crystal Garnet, as I said, from my mom's garage. So we'd converted my mom's garage into a mini bridal boutique. So what had happened was I found a picture of a beautiful bridal boutique. I didn't know where it was or who it belonged to, and I put it onto my dream wall. And I said to myself, this is what I want my business to look like when she's all grown up. Now, of course, I was still in full-time employment at the time, so I put that vision out there. And just to give you an idea, this particular boutique was about 17 times the size of my mini bridal boutique that I had. It was massive. It had beautiful gowns everywhere. It had 2 floors. It was beautiful. So, of course, for me, it was a very big dream at the time. But nevertheless, I said to myself, this is what I want my business to look like when she's all grown up. And I put it out there, and I actively worked on my business during the 3.5 years. So if you are in business today, or if you are thinking of going into business, sometimes it's important to start small. In fact, I believe it's so important, you know, to not incur additional overheads that you don't need when you're starting out. So find ways of how you may be able to start your business from humble beginnings, from maybe your premises, and then you start building on top of that. Okay, so that's what happened during that time. I managed my business on a part-time basis for 3.5 years, started learning about the industry, started learning more about my clients and their needs. You know, I really spent a lot of time developing myself during that period. Why? Because I wanted to ensure that I'm going to be successful in business. I spent a lot of time equipping myself also in the areas of business. And you know, in 2014, an opportunity became available for me to move into the business full-time. And because it had always been my passion, it had always been my dream to go into business on a full-time capacity, when that opportunity presented itself, I knew that now is the time to take that step of faith. And can I tell you that on the 1st of May 2014, I moved into that very same premises that I had on my bridal boutique, on my dream wall, not knowing where it was or who it belonged to. And that is the power of a dream. And I can tell you about so many dreams and entrepreneurial dreams that have come to pass just by having a vision and by putting it out there. And for those of you who are finding it difficult to believe in your dreams today, find a picture that represents your dream and put it on there. And every time you walk past that dream wall, I want you to say to yourself, my dreams are possible. My dreams are possible. And I want you to say that with me. My dreams are possible. Why? Because your dream is necessary and your dream is needed. You know, when I started my business, Crystal Garnet, I was 2 years into the business, and really in starting the business and in pursuing the business, I discovered my passion for wanting to empower other women entrepreneurs in business and into business. So if I did not start Crystal Garnet in my mom's garage, if I did not pursue Crystal Garnet, if I did not move on to bigger opportunities, I would not have discovered my purpose, my calling for wanting to empower other women entrepreneurs in and into business. And of course, I've been able to launch SME Women, I've been able to launch Women of Wealth, and these are just 2 platforms that I use at this time to empower other women entrepreneurs and other investors to move their personal, their business, and their financial goals forward. So our dreams are necessary and our dreams are needed. So it doesn't matter where you are today. It doesn't matter. Keep your eyes on that vision. I promise you, there were times when I thought to myself, is this dream ever going to come to pass? Every year I was hoping, now is going to be my break, now is going to be my opportunity, and it didn't happen. But how did I stay motivated? How did I stay inspired? It was because of that vision that was on there. And I also just want to add something else. You know, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I've learned the importance of meditating on His Word and speaking His Word. So what happened was, when I found the picture, I also found a word that encouraged me, that supported that vision. And in addition to looking at the picture, I used to confess those positive words over my dreams. So it's so important for us to see the vision, but even over and above that, it's important for us to also speak that vision into existence. And that's what I want to encourage you today. Also find words that will be able to inspire you and encourage you. You know, I have personal affirmations that I make every day over my businesses, over my family, over myself, over my finances. Why? Because I understand that the power of life and death is in the tongue. So it's important for us to ensure that we always speak positive over our situation and our circumstances, no matter what it looks like today. And I promise you, soon you will start seeing that situation turning around. Why? Because you are focused, and also because you are declaring positive words over those situations, and maybe even over that business that you are believing in today. Success to me really is pursuing your dreams and living your God-ordained purpose. And you know, my personal slogan is pursue your dreams and love your purpose, because I really do believe that in pursuing our dreams, we are going to love our purpose. So that for me, ultimately, each and every one of us has a calling, has a gifting. You know, we were birthed for something special, for something amazing that only each and every one of us can fulfill. So in fulfilling that calling, in fulfilling that dream, that purpose, that to me is really true success. So I want to get to the end of my journey, and everything that has been placed on the inside of me, I want to ensure that I have lived all of that out. You know, I like what Les Brown teaches us. He says that we must live full and die empty. And that is really what I aspire to, because we have giftings and callings, and we need to ensure that we live it out. Why? Because the world needs your gifting. The world needs you to lift out your calling and your dream and your purpose. So my success is really rooted in my relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He's really the center of my life, and everything that I do revolves around my center. So it's so important for me to stay connected to Him and stay connected to His Word, because I can tell you that in my personal journey, you know, in spending time in His Word, in spending time in getting to know Him better, understand Him better, and also getting to know what He says about me and who I am and all the plans that He has for me, has really helped me to stay connected to my purpose and to stay connected to my goals and my dreams. So I really do believe that if it wasn't for my relationship with my Lord and my Savior, I would not have achieved any of the success that I have achieved today. So for me, it's so important, even up to today. I'm not saying I'm the perfect person that you can find, but what I am saying is that it's important for me to stay connected to Him, because in Him I find guidance, I find direction, I find inspiration, I find motivation. I know a lot of people spend time on different things, motivating them and trying to inspire them, but for me, that's where it starts. And then over and above that, I believe it's so important, you know, to also have mentors, have coaches, people that you can learn from. And I promise you, I have 4 active mentors in my life today that I spend time with in different areas of my life, because I've learned the importance of wanting to accelerate my goals in acceleration. And I know that I'm able to learn from them. Why? Because they are doing what I want to do successfully. I believe in what they represent today as far as those different areas are concerned, and I want to learn from them so that I can take those learnings and apply to my personal journey. And I also believe it's so important to read. You know, I love reading. I spend a lot of time reading, and also relevant material. I spend very little time, you know, just watching TV or, you know, not really being productive. I do have the off days when I do spend time enjoying it from time to time, but I always ensure that I'm always feeding myself, you know, with the right information, with the right knowledge, you know, the right tools that can help me successfully move my goals forward. So I think you need to find your frame of reference. And as I said to you, my frame of reference is the Word of God, and I need to ensure that that governs everything that I do today. So all my values that I have today, I am striving to, you know, continue living out those values based on my frame of reference. And I apply that, you know, to every other area of my life. I try to always do that successfully. So the immediate project that I'm currently focusing on at the moment is property development. So I have moved I started my property journey a couple of years ago, and it started with normal buying and selling of properties and renting out some properties. And of course, as you grow in your knowledge and your experience, now you want to move on to bigger opportunities. And I decided that I want to become a property developer. So I started looking for property development opportunities, specifically in the area of affordable housing. Why? Because I believe that there's still a massive, massive demand for affordable housing here in South Africa. And I also want to play a strategic role in bringing about affordable housing so that people are able to buy their own properties. And that will be my focus, in fact, for the next 10 years. So I will be focusing on property development. We've identified various projects that we have already started pursuing. Of course, COVID-19 or the lockdown situation has delayed some of those projects. It set us back a little bit, but we will be kickstarting some of those projects in the new year. And I'm very excited to get started. So that's one of the things that I'm focusing on. The other thing that I also want to share with you is that I'm also a business and a property coach, so it's important for me to continue empowering my women in business. I do believe in diversification, so I think as entrepreneurs, we need to have multiple streams of income in place. And also, it also depends what your calling and your gifting is. Now, my women initiatives is really what I believe in, and that's where I believe I can really have impact and make a positive difference. So I continue to focus on my SME woman and my Women of Wealth initiatives, because that is something that I'm passionate about. And I will continue to do that, obviously, alongside my property development projects that we have identified at this time. So that is really where my main focus is going to be. The businesses that I've put in place up to today, which includes Property Pick, we've managed to get it to operate, to a certain level where there's very minimal operational involvement that is needed from me at this time. So that is why I'm able to focus on other opportunities that I'm pursuing at this time. And of course, this will be my focus over the next 10 years. So I do have passions and aspirations to actually start a Women in Business fund. So that is something that I'm working towards. I've actually recently started another side business venture, which is a network marketing model. And one of the reasons why I've started that particular business model is because I want to use the income that I'm generating through that particular opportunity as well, to start my Women in Business Fund. And also, I want to help organizations out there who are looking after human and sex trafficking victims. So that's really something that's close to my heart. And one of the reasons why I do what I do in terms of pursuing all of my aspirations at this time is because I also want to make a difference within those areas, and I also want to, have positive impact as far as those areas are concerned. So that will really be my two focus areas in terms of, moving some of my other aspirations forward at this time. So it's so awesome to see people like yourself, doing what you're doing and having positive impact and inspiring and wanting to make a difference in your area. And there's so many of us that are doing what we're passionate about, trying to make a difference, trying to make things better, not just for ourselves, but for people out there. And I think that really inspires me. There's so much of bad and wickedness and evil happening out there, but there's so much of good. And when you come across like-minded people like yourself and like-minded individuals who are really wanting to make a difference in the lives of people, that really just inspires me even more, just to understand and realize that you are not the only one. There are so many of us. And as long as we continue doing, what we are passionate about, what our dreams are, what we believe we've been called to do, I promise you this world will become a better place for everyone to live in. It really breaks my heart what's been seen, especially in the recent months and weeks, with children being kidnapped and exploited sexually and trafficked. So that is something that really, really breaks my heart. And, I'm praying about it, and I'm hoping that through my prayers I'm able to make a difference. But I also believe that, and in fact, what I want to say to parents and to caretakers out there, I think it's so important to take special care of our children, especially in this time. And I do believe that this situation will come to an end. We don't know when, but I believe it will come to an end. But all I am appealing to is just to say to parents and to caregivers out there, let's love our children, let's look after them, let's ensure that we put stricter measures in place as far as our children are concerned. Especially in our townships, you find that parents just casually send children to the shops or to go and buy, bread or milk, whatever it is. I think we even need to pay more attention to those type of situations and ensure that don't just send your little child on their own, because there are people out there who are hurting children and who are exploiting them. And we want to ensure that, we look after our children, and at the same time find initiatives that we are able to drive as a community and as a people that can help this type of activity or stop this type of activity from happening. I know it's a major request, and it's probably a big thing that I'm putting out there, but as I say, it even starts just by saying a prayer and by looking after those children, not just our own, but even the children that are around us. I believe that every person has a responsibility and an obligation to really care for the next person, and especially our children. So there's, I've had these conversations recently, and, I know a lot of people have been affected negatively by it. I mean, I've spoken to some people in my network, but, I have said to some people that for me, this has actually been the most defining year that I have ever experienced in my entrepreneurial journey. I think as entrepreneurs, we've really had to become more innovative, more creative. We've really had to find ways to collaborate and work on solutions and opportunities together so that we can continue moving our business goals forward. So I find that, COVID-19 has really helped us in our various businesses to really look at our business model and see what we were doing that was not working so well. Because if you were not able to operate during this period of COVID for whatever reason, whether it be physically from physical locations or online, that tells me that we need to put in a little bit more effort as far as those ventures are concerned. So I think what COVID-19 has really highlighted to us is that it's important to also have a business that is able to operate online. And I think it's important for us to continue finding ways of how we're able to operate our business online. And in addition to that, I think it's also opened up, the mindset and the understanding that we have to diversify. We have to start finding new ways and new strategies of generating additional income. If you only have one source of income today, whether you be in employment, whether it's your business, you have to find new ways, additional ways of how you're able to generate additional income. And I think that is really what COVID-19, even though I do believe I do believe in multiple streams of income, it's something I've been working towards for a couple of years already, but I think the situation has really just made one realize the importance of, focusing on that and really prioritizing it, so that if one source dries up for whatever reason, whether it be because of COVID-19 or whatever other economic crisis we might face in the future, of course, you've got other streams and other platforms in place that will be able to, at least sustain you from a financial perspective. And then I think also what COVID has done is, and I think for a lot of us, is that the importance of looking after our health. And I can tell you that this year I have focused a lot of time in terms of just ensuring I eat healthier, ensuring that I look after myself, exercising more. Why? Because we need to build our immune systems, also getting the right supplements and products that can help us to sustain our systems, build our systems, so that we are able to also fight off these infections and viruses, from a physical perspective as well. So I think diversifying into multiple streams of income and also looking after, my health is really what COVID-19 has really showed me at this time. But I'm excited, any storm does not last. It has to come to an end. So we've been going through a storm, and sometimes those storms come, and as a result of those storms, you sometimes find that we are also being molded, during those times. And once you come through that storm, you actually find that you are in a stronger position. Your character has been molded. You feel from a business perspective, from a financial perspective, you've been molded. So now you are actually in a better position to continue moving those business goals and those financial goals forward. So I'm very excited. I believe there's a lot of opportunity. A lot of successful people were birthed during and after difficult times. So it's just a matter of being resourceful, looking for opportunities, and then, taking on those opportunities and moving your goals forward. So Robert Kiyosaki is one of my online mentors. I've spent a lot of time, reading both Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki's books, and also everything that I've learned about property and business has been as a result of the Rich Dad education that I've been able to receive over the last couple of years of being an entrepreneur. And one of his favorite quotes that actually stand out to me is that he says that most people never get wealthy because they are not trained to see the opportunities right in front of them. So I believe it's so important for us to also train ourselves so that we would be able to identify opportunities in front of us. I'm in property, okay? So I look for opportunities within the area of property. But if I did not have the right level of training as far as property investing is concerned, as far as moving my property strategies forward are concerned, I wouldn't have been able to find those opportunities. Now I'm able to go into an area and I'm able to look around and I can immediately identify opportunities. Why? Because I've trained myself in the areas of property. So it's so important for us to train ourselves so that we're able to identify opportunities in front of us, whatever your area of focus or specialization is. The other quote that I also enjoy is the one by Warren Buffett, who's probably considered to be one of the world's most successful investors. And he says that if you do not find a way to make money whilst you sleep, you will work until you die. Now, I know it is a harsh quote, but it is reality. And that is why I believe it's important to diversify as entrepreneurs. I believe it's important for us to find strategies that will be able to generate the income whether we are sleeping or whether we are awake. So it's important for us to start looking at ways of how we're able to generate streams of passive income, because really it's going to help you sustain your financial goals as far as your business is concerned, as far as your family is concerned, and of course as far as all those other aspirations are concerned. So we have to find new ways of generating income. And then my last one, which is my personal one, which is pursue your dreams and live your purpose. And I really do believe that if you pursue your dreams, you will live your purpose. Just depending on which area you're in, but of course, I think my entrepreneurial changes really came about when I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I think if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be an investor, it's a very good book to read, because it will just start opening your mindset, to new ways of how we're able to move our business and our financial goals forward. So definitely a book to read. Another book that I'm actually reading at the moment is It's Rising Time, and that's by Kim Kiyosaki. So for every woman entrepreneur, for every aspiring woman entrepreneur or aspiring investor, definitely a good book to read as well, because it will really start, equipping you and really start renewing your mindset to business and investing and how we're able to move that forward successfully. And then, of course, my favorite book of all times, which is the Bible. I think, there's so many nuggets and wisdom in that book, and I promise you, a lot of what successful people are teaching today about the power of positive confession, positive thinking, renewal of the mind, a lot of that actually comes, from the Word of God. So never neglect spending time in that book, because I can tell you that book is ultimately going to help you achieve success and even greater success in every area of your life. So in the beginning, when I started my journey, I experienced a level of challenges because I didn't have the right level of support. And I didn't have the right level of information as far as business is concerned. There were areas, for example, HR and compliance, that I really learned about as I was moving my business goals forward. It wasn't something that I was delivering in my previous employment role. So a lot of the information was new. So I think as we're going to be moving our business goals forward, there will be areas where we will not necessarily be the experts as far as those areas are concerned. And that is why I think it's so important, once again, to tap into mentors and coaches, seminars, workshops that are able to fill the information gap as far as those particular areas are concerned. Because I've really found that, as I've been equipping myself, that has really liberated me and helped me to move a lot of my goals forward. I can tell you there were times in business, especially when I started out, because I didn't know any better. I took all of my capital investment that I had at the time. Remember, I was working and I took all of that and I put it into my first business venture. I didn't know anything about diversifying. I didn't know anything about income generating assets and about multiple streams of income. I just had a dream and I had the passion, and I just took all of that capital investment that I had, I put it into my business. And it ended up being not a very good decision as far as my journey was concerned. Why? Because my business wasn't giving me the type of financial return that I was looking for. And I promise you, there was a time that I can actually say I literally hit rock bottom, because I had exhausted all of my financial resources. And I said to myself, what am I going to do now? I'm in a situation where I have exhausted everything that I had. And I went back to that vision board. I said, there are still things on there that will be achieved. And I now need to be resourceful. I need to find ways of how I'm able to generate the income that I need so that I can continue moving my business goals forward. And of course, I tapped into property at the time, and I started learning about buying and selling of properties and how you're able to generate lump sums of income. And I started doing that, and I was able to leverage that strategy and, really start moving some of these situations forward, and I could start again. So I really think that before you give up, really ask yourself, is there anything else that I'm able to do at this time? What can I do from where I am today? And sometimes it might mean gaining knowledge that you may not have had before. So I think it's sometimes important, and tap into your network. Tap into people who are maybe going through similar situations and they've overcome some of those challenges, and start talking to people in your network and how they've been able to overcome some of the challenges that they've faced in business. Because I really do believe, like any other thing in life, I believe business is a calling, so it's something that you also need to know that you were born to do. And of course, like anything that you're going to be pursuing in life, you will face challenges. You'll make the wrong decisions. You'll make mistakes along your journey. Sometimes you'll even exhaust all of your financial resources in trying to pursue that dream, in trying to pursue that opportunity. So I really think it's important for us to ensure that we surround ourselves with the right people, tap into our network, and find other ways of how we're able to, build our knowledge base so that we can move forward from there onwards. And as I said in the beginning, I believe it's so important for entrepreneurs to diversify. You have to put in place multiple streams of income at this time. You have to diversify. I know property is not everyone's thing. If it's not property, if it's not network marketing, whatever it is, find your flow and then start pursuing it alongside the other things that you are doing at this time. We are able to do it. We can manage our time, we can prioritize our time, and we will be able to navigate our way through those difficult times. So I've learned the importance of speaking positive words. And I have learned that it doesn't matter how bleak things look or how impossible things look, carefully consider what you are going to voice with regards to that particular situation. So I have a rule in our family that if we are not able to speak anything positive over the situation, then let's rather zip our lips, because I have learned, the power of words. So you could just be maybe a step away from that breakthrough. And now you want to give up, and now you start speaking negative words. What's going to happen? It's going to set you back, when you could have just been a step away from moving into that breakthrough situation, into that next goal, whatever it is for you. So that is one of my coping mechanisms, is that I have to carefully consider my words. And of course, I have to continue feeding my heart. I have to continue believing in my dreams. I have to continue building my faith. And that's how I stay focused. I think everyone is always going through something. Right now where I'm sitting, I am still trusting God for breakthroughs in certain areas. I'm still waiting for those things to come to pass. And how am I keeping myself motivated? How am I keeping myself on track? Is by knowing that they will come to pass. First of all, I believe, I know it's going to happen. When and how it's going to happen, I don't have all the detail just yet, but I know it's going to happen. So it's so important for me to ensure that I continue believing, know that it's going to happen. And of course, whilst I'm waiting, I just have to ensure that I continue what I can do from where I am today. And everything else will fall into place with time. And sometimes, when you reach a place where you feel like, I've done everything, I keep confessing, keep moving forward, but nothing is changing. You just keep doing what you are doing, and I promise you, with time, you will see that situation turn around. So that's really how I keep myself motivated and inspired at this time. I really wish you massive success in your journey, because, the world really needs inspiration. We need positivity, and also we need other people who can also share with us some of their personal journeys that will also inspire us to continue going for our goals and for our dreams. So I do encourage you, continue what you're doing. Also find ways to be more resourceful, so that you can get your message out to a greater audience. You know what your goals are, you know what you need to achieve. So I really want to encourage you also to become resourceful and become relevant. I think every business today needs to become even more relevant. We may be relevant in terms of where we are today, but we have to find new ways of becoming even more relevant. I promise you, even what COVID-19 has done is that it's helped me to realize that I need to become more relevant as a brand. So it's important for us to always get our messaging out there and to find ways on how we're able to do that, you know, and how we're able to collaborate. And I think what I also just want to encourage everyone with, and also say to yourselves, is that I think it's important for us to find ways on how you're able to collaborate to have even bigger impact. And, you know, we need to be resourceful and strategic around how we do that. But I wish you massive, massive success in your journey. Keep up the good work, keep going for gold, and keep inspiring and motivating people out there, you know, to go out and be successful and live out their dreams. Okay, these are a few things that I believe that you need to take into account if you want to be successful in life. And these are things that I've personally applied in my life, and it has helped me to achieve the level of success that I've been able to achieve to date. So one, I would say, have a dream wall or vision board. If you do not have one, start putting this together. Number two, goal setting. That's so important. So I also believe that it's important for us to list all of our goals across different timelines. So what is it that you want to achieve in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 3 years, 5 years, and so on? So I believe it's very important for us to be clear and specific about our goals. Why? Because clarity is power. And clarity will bring about the right level of focus, and it will give us direction in terms of how we're able to move our goals forward. And now that you are clear on your goals, I also want you to put together an action plan. What do you need to do in order to achieve that very next goal? So where are you today? What is the goal that you want to achieve? And what do you have to do in order to achieve that next goal? And then the other thing that I also want to encourage you with, it's so important to take action. No action, no results. So it's important for us to ensure that when you put that action plan together, take action. And also, you know, surround yourself with positive people, with like-minded people, because that is a way for us also to remain positive and to remain focused by surrounding ourselves with positive people and like-minded people. If you surround yourself with negative people, they are going to be the downfall of you. Because I'm sure everyone knows when you step into a room and there's a negative person coming into that room, you can feel the negative energy, you know, coming into that room. So it's so important for you to also surround yourself with positive people and like-minded people. And then also, you know, I think it's so important for us to spend quality time with ourselves. And in spending quality time with yourself, that's really where you are going to self-motivate yourself. Because you need to ensure that you are building your character. What are you reading? What are you speaking today? You know, all of those things play a strategic role in helping us to remain positive and so that we can successfully move our goals forward. And then also I want to encourage you, be patient. You know, be patient along your journey. Everything is not going to happen overnight. Some things take time, but you need to ensure that you are consistent in what you're doing and you consistently do what you need to do in order to achieve that next goal. So don't give up when it doesn't happen, you know, at the timeline that you wanted to. Go back to your goal setting board and, you know, just revise your timelines again, but ensure that you remain consistent and you continue moving forward. You know, entrepreneurs have one thing in mind. We keep going, we don't quit, and we never give up. My name is Candice van Wyk. I'm a speaker, investor, business and property coach. I'm also an entrepreneur, and you are watching gold, and keep going for gold. Go for gold. My name is Candice van Wyk, and you are watching gold with King Nee.